It's always nice to have you. We have a lot of softball to talk about. It's interesting how quickly this season goes by because even in our conversation before coming on the air, it's like the playoffs are here already. And it's true, isn't it?
Right.
How quickly, again, it's a short season.
Right. Softball is one of those compact seasons. There are some other sports that kind of spread it out over time, but you've got to get a lot of games in a short period of time because of the weather.
That's true of baseball, true of softball, compared to even if you take the high school basketball schedule, that is somewhat, obviously, one that's spread out as football, being only once a week. Gary Martin will tell you how short a high school basketball season essentially is. You really break it down to about 2 months. But that being said, aside from snow, you don't have rainouts as you can have happen with the softball and the baseball, which leads itself to what has happened this week. It's been really with baseball and softball. Some of these teams got 3 games, 3 days. Is like the major leagues.
Yeah.
And Eric, who's going to be on later, the head coach for Greencastle on our amateur baseball analyst for ESPN, it affects your pitching staff.
Absolutely. You got to have a good pitching staff at least at this point in the season, especially in baseball. Softball, they can go the duration a little bit better because of the motion of the arm, but it's still wearing on the girls mentally, emotionally, and physically.
But something we've talked about in the past, because the softball motion is more natural, it's easier to maintain a pitching staff.
That's right. It's contrary to what I would think. You think throwing a baseball, you pick up something, you naturally put your arm up and throw it, but that's contrary to what your body really wants to do, and there's a lot more arm injuries in baseball than there are in softball.
Which goes back to, again, it's an underhand motion, so what I was alluding to was you could have somebody possibly pitch more innings in softball than baseball.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times,
and you're not gonna risk any injury as long as the girl or woman is in good shape. There's no pain.
That's right.
Well, maybe you could throw somebody. Well, she just pitched recently, but she's in pretty good shape. If I need to use her, I can. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. Generally, in any sport, as long as you're strengthening and keeping those joints pretty tight and strong, you'll be okay. Especially in this case in softball, one pitcher could carry an entire team if they're dominant, if they're in shape, they're fit, and they're taken care of properly. That pitcher alone could carry a team into a championship and do the duration of 3 to 4 games a week. I've seen it in tournaments that, in baseball, there's a limit to the number of pitches that people can throw, or the boys can throw, or whoever's in Little League doing baseball. But in softball, they could go 2-3 games at a time, and still, as long as their endurance is good, then they'll be fine.
Let's head out to James Buchanan High School in Mercersburg, and we just have to compliment them on they are just causing havoc for everybody. That they just destroyed Waynesboro 15-5, and they just continue to show up and win.
Absolutely. I know when they came out early in the season and started winning, especially beating Greencastle, and they kind of put an exclamation point in the beginning of the season. Like, here we are, look at us, and they've just continued that streak.
And they go on and on. I hope that they do win the playoffs, because that is a different season, as we both know. Competition, who have you played? Fortunately, I think they have played some good competition, so I don't see them falling apart in the playoffs.
No, I don't think so. I think this is a different year for them. I think they'll go considerably far in the playoffs, as long as they have some senior leadership that can push them through that. Now, it just seems almost like they're unconscious with these wins. They're just going through. They've got momentum.
There's not many losses, Amy.
We talked about momentum before, and this could be their time. Their momentum is taking them into the playoffs, and that's fantastic for them. And this could start a tradition. This could be the team that breaks the dam open for them to give them that confidence.
Well, that's why we
boost.
really want to give their head coach and their team really a compliment, because there have been a number of seasons for various teams where there has been a struggle, and now there are various teams which seem to be putting things together.
Yeah, it takes a lot for a team to go up against a traditional team that's always winning, like Greencastle. So James Buchanan came out mentally tough and, had their bats, has their pitching defense, and came out early in the season and made a statement, and they're going with that, and they're continuing to back up where they were at the beginning of the year, and I'm sure they're probably improving as the year goes on, and they're gelling as they need to go into playoffs.
Well, let's look at their game today. They are playing Ship today. Now, they're playing at home. Tough game.
Yeah, Ship has...
You didn't hesitate on that one.
No, I actually saw them the other day against Greencastle, and they have a good team. They're pretty solid the whole way around, pitching, hitting, fielding. On any given day, I've said it before a million times, any given day, anybody can win or lose when you have pretty comparable teams as far as pitching staff and good defense and hitters. As long as the ball's being put in play, anything can happen.
Well, as we do, we cover 4 states. We cover a lot of high schools and colleges in those 4 states. As we work our way out in our circle, if you're looking for another softball game to go to, we have Redland at Chambersburg. Chambersburg is starting to gel. Obviously, they clobbered, and I say that respectfully, Greencastle the other day, leading at 9-0. Final score is 9-5.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting there 5 games over 500, but the talent on the team is not the issue. It's putting everything together. Because I was out walking my doggy Trishy at Norlow Park, and their JV team had just got done. Now, my goodness, their JV team. So I lost like 1 game. They are like really good, so it's like we're just loading for the years to come. That's
often the case in a lot of good high school teams. They start from when they're young, and they just continue to push through great players and great teams, and it's expected. The expectations are high, and so a lot of times the girls rise to expectations. They know how it's supposed to be done.
What's happening is you can see you have players maybe on JV that thought they should have done the varsity.
Of course.
Those fringe players, and they're pushing the other ones.
Absolutely.
And maybe this is, again, it's a very short season, but it's a long season within that short season, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And right now, Chambersburg, again, is playing better softball.
That's good.
They were, you and I talked about even early in the season, kind of like a win one, lose one.
Yeah, they've been a little bit streaky this year, but, all in all, the best time of the year to come together and gel is at the end of the year, because it does you no good at the beginning of the year to be playing your best ball. So if this is when, you're going to gel, Chambersburg picked a good time. That means they've been growing, they've been learning, they've been, just kind of working things out, perhaps, and position-wise, and in the lineup, who knows what. But this is a good time to be getting there to that point.
Well, we were talking about Greencastle. They are going to be at Boiling Springs, and again, they're developing. This happens. You go through years like this. We have this discussion with baseball, even Major League Baseball teams in down years, etc. They're a good team, they're just not a real good team because they're developing. It's not like they're walking around with a losing record. We can't emphasize that enough. We're not attacking Greencastle. We're being realistic that, similar to Eric Shaner, who follows you next, we'll talk about the Greencastle High School baseball team. It's young, they're developing, and so on. The fact is, let's go to the positive with the game against Chambersburg. They did come back and score 5 runs.
Yeah, I
they
think...
didn't give up. They could have, it wasn't 18-0.
Yeah.
So those are,
That's
right.
Coach
Cordy likes to look for the positive.
I saw them play the other day, and